breaking down Monterey sports. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back in. This is the High School Fan Zone on a Monday night. I'm Randy Rosetta. It's 100.7 The Score on Fox News Now. We're going to switch gears. Tonight is all baseball and softball to make sure I'm saying that right. Yes, because we're followed up by softball by Roxy Curiel coming in, talking about Memorial. Then we'll finish with baseball. So we are into the portion of the school year where I'm about to say, I'm going to say what my grandpa used to say. It's wheat cutting time. That's my nice way of saying what my grandpa used to say. Because this is the final week of the regular season in softball, correct?
Correct.
And baseball reaches that point next week. So every game has a little bit more meaning. That's why we talked to Estacado baseball. That's why we're talking to Monterey softball here in a minute. Come on in.
See,
we're not shy.
You either sit there or here. Your choice.
And you get the game show mic.
Okay.
Just hold it above the silver when you talk, and he'll fix you in there. Yeah. Last week had some meat on the bone for Monterey because they played Amarillo High at home, beat them 9-6. That and what Cooper did against Tascosa threw everything into basically a virtual tie. There's one game off because Amarillo's got one more game that they've played. Coming into this week, all three of them have 2 losses. All three of them play each other in one form or another. Monterey took care of business then. Talked to Brian Cronk last week for a podcast and a couple of his players, then covered the game, and you guys took care of business. That was an impressive performance. I know as a coach you're going to find a flaw here and there, but I would think you were pretty happy with what your girls did Friday against Amarillo High.
Happy with the outcome for sure. You always second guess yourself, and you look back on things, and I felt like we could have swung the bats better. And watching it back on film, I think we swung through a bunch of balls that we should have hit well. But at the end of the day, we made plays and when we needed to, and again, pleased with the outcome that we had. And so,
Tell me who's with you here before.
This is Sabrina McBeth.
Okay.
She was freshman, first baseman.
I've never met her before.
Hitting in the 4-hole. So.
And Sabrina, one thing that Coach, he may have been getting ready to mention it, I thought it was impressive what your fellow freshman did, Jade, because we talked, she and Jaden and Coach and I talked the night before, and one of the themes was you guys are good about not letting things bother you, about putting it behind you and getting back up. She gave up a couple home runs. It got close there a little bit, and she was just tough as nails those last 2 innings. I'm assuming you've played with her a time or two the last few years. Can you tell when she's kind of locked in and the other team's going to have some trouble hitting her?
I could definitely tell when she's locked in. I mean, you could really see, like, you just know it's a feeling.
I asked you about this incorrectly, and the two of you incorrectly. She gave up the 2 home runs. It was 8-6, and then they got a hit, and the ball got misplayed a little bit. They had a runner at second base with nobody out in the 6th inning.
Yeah. Another
chance to crumble, and she just kind of shrugged it off and got the next 3 outs. You got who was the left fielder that made the play in the 7th?
Serenity Rodriguez.
You guys made plays that kind of helped her survive.
Well, and that comes back to a little bit about what we had talked about the night before is, there are times that Jade goes out and gets a strikeout, and there are other times she relies on her defense. And, and that was one of those, you make the pitch, she makes the swing, and now you hope that the defense comes up with it and ball bounced right to her, and she made a great throw. And, it was, I guess it comes from reps, and,
yep.
And it was right on the screws, so.
She was nasty in those first few innings. I think if my math was right, she struck out 7 of the first 9.
I think that is right.
And they were befuddled, to use an old man word. They weren't sure what to do with her. You said something after the game that kind of piqued my interest. You said that at one point she went and started warming up again to kind of figure out what she needed to adjust.
Well, I think where she was early is, she had some movement. And then as the game kind of went, we lost some bits and pieces of that. And so, you just go back and rewarm something up. And so she did that. And, I guess the difference down the stretch was the movement came back in as opposed to maybe what we had in the third, fourth, fifth inning.
Who's joined us now?
This is Makayla Perez,
Okay.
senior.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've met before. I know I've talked to you. That's a different. My wife was asking me about softball and baseball when I got home. She always picks my brain about stuff, and she said, "Well, how can they throw so many innings back to back? So it's in more natural motion." The other thing is in baseball pitchers, if you said go warm up between innings again, they're too high maintenance to. Can you tell I was a catcher?
Yeah, some are.
Yep, and that's why girls are just tougher. So sorry, guys. But when it comes to baseball and softball, there's maybe a tougher mentality is the better way to put it. Monterey is tied for first place. I'm just going to say it that way because it's easier to say that. Along with Amarillo High and Cooper with 2 big games this week. We'll talk about that when we come back in the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the latest news from Monterey Athletics. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back in. This is the high school fan zone on, I guess we're midway through April. It's tax day's coming. So we're halfway through April, almost to the end of the regular season in softball. This week is the last one, and then get a week off before the playoffs.
No, sir. We'll roll right into it.
Coach Brian Cronk. Yeah, that's right. You don't. And I like that about baseball and softball. To me, the other sports, now in football you have a normal week off, but basketball and soccer, you get that weird break that you don't really want because then you sit around, you have to convince kids to keep practicing hard.
Right.
Does Coach have to convince you guys to keep practicing hard, or to?
No, sir. We know.
So I'll smile at first over there. Makayla, how many hours do you think you've spent with Coach Cronk through the years?
A lot.
Because I just asked you, you've been one of the ones that's been there since freshman year.
Yes, sir.
You know, when you brought Allie on, and I said that I talked to her after a game, it may have been Makayla.
It was probably Makayla.
I think it was.
But I wasn't going to correct you on the
No.
air, but I guess I have now.
It was because I remember she was real nervous, and I asked her if she was related to Anna East, your pitcher.
Right.
Oh, I
Same
remember that.
last name.
I remember that.
And I think it freaked her out a little bit, like she thought she was in trouble or something.
I don't know that Makayla's gotten any taller. She has definitely gotten stronger.
That's good.
Not taller.
And faster.
Size doesn't matter that
Oh,
much.
gosh, no. Well, and she packs a punch. You know, we had another little center fielder that,
Yes, you did.
packed a punch. And so,
Who's getting used to some cold weather.
yes.
I talked to her dad the other night. You guys have 2 games this week, and we're going to be very respectful of Paladero and what you finish up with, but obviously a big one Tuesday night on the road on Woodrow Road against Lubbock-Cooper. You've been through a few of these.
Yes, sir.
Sabrina, I'm going to assume you've watched a few of them.
Yes,
getting
sir.
ready to come to Monterey. There's a lot on the line for both teams, and Coach talked last week about being even-keeled, and the next one's the big one. Is that kind of the way you feel about tomorrow night, going down to Lubbock-Cooper in a game that's going to have some impact on where you wind up in the playoffs?
Oh, yes.
We'll let
but
folks make sure. I know you're
Sorry.
stronger, but you got to have.
yes, but at the end of the day, it's just a game, and we go to take care of business and to not lose sight of the goal here and to just do what we've been doing these past few weeks, and we'll be fine.
That's become a fun rivalry the last several years. With all due respect to Friendship, who's been really good, Lubbock-Cooper and Monterey have kind of become the teams in Lubbock. If Coach remembers this or not, the first 2 or 3 times I covered you guys when we first met was against Lubbock-Cooper, and every time I was talking to you after a loss. So I'm glad that I ended that streak for you.
Yeah, that was good.
Yes. You guys have played them in the playoffs the last 2 years?
Once.
We caught him 2 years ago.
2
Okay.
years? Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Last year it was short-lived.
it's always been competitive. You guys are playing really well for both of you, and the other night was a good example of that. Do you have to change anything against them, or is it just keep doing what you're doing, just keep chopping wood?
I would say just keep doing what we're doing, work hard, communicate, be the good team that we are, and I think we got it.
So Makayla's used to this. I asked Jade the other day, and I liked her answer. Sabrina, you get into this point of the season, these games are all a little bit, they're a little bit higher octane, I guess. You don't get these games in middle school. You don't get them in the summer. There's high level games, but it's a little bit more relaxed. Have you felt any different these last couple of weeks with the games meaning a little bit more each time you go out there?
No, not really. I feel like as long as we don't put pressure on ourselves and play freely, we'll just be A-okay.
One thing, Makayla, they do get you ready for the playoffs. This last week, it's going to have your skin toughened a little bit, and that's helped you the last few years. You want to make sure that that's what Amarillo, Lubbock-Cooper games do for you this year as well?
Yes, sir. They're definitely Amarillo is definitely some sort of fashion of what we're going to see in the playoffs, and I think it gets us prepared.
So without going, when we started talking the other day, it was like watching A Beautiful Mind. You had your board out and you were going through everything. Your best case scenario for you guys is it's pretty easy. Just win.
Win out. That's the expectation.
And
we'll take care of it tomorrow, and then we worry about Friday on Friday. But we've got to go take care of it tomorrow, and like the girls have said, and I don't know that I preach it a lot, but just my demeanor is I'm very, I don't know, calm. I tried to say I was a calm guy. They laughed at me, but chill guy, yeah. Just being calm, and we don't want to read a whole lot more into it. Girl goes out in the circle, she's going to throw it. Our job's to hit it. She misses on the plate. We're going to try and make her pay. I mean, that doesn't change from day one to, last day of the season. That's the goal, and but we don't want to put a lot more on it than what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, we're dealing with 14 to 18-year-old kids, and there's no telling outside of, softball what's going on in their lives. And so, we try and keep it simple, and, we work in practices to be prepared for the game situations. And so the swings that we take, the reps defensively we take, the base run stuff we work through, it's all to, just kind of showcase on game day, and it's not doing a bunch of fixing. And that's just the way I've approached it. And I hope that it makes it a little bit less stressful on the kids. But I'm sure that they can probably feel my stress level at times, and it probably carries over. So, does it carry over? Can you feel it sometimes?
I say yes sometimes, but then you always kind of regulate it to where we're like, okay, I guess it's okay now. But there is times where it's like, okay, guys, get it together.
But you have a cool mix to me. You may not agree, but you've got the freshmen who maybe don't know you well enough to know. They may be able to read it, and your seniors are to the point now they're like, that's this coach.
And that may be true. There's we got 4 seniors that we're all up on as freshmen, and and then we have this group that there are 3 that are major contributors, but 4 that are on varsity. And so I think you get some of that carry over in the middle, and from them, and I don't know that they've necessarily shown them the way. I mean, that's the expectation, but we just show up. My goal is to show up and do work, do little things right, so big things can happen.
I thought it was symbolic or meaningful that Jaden got you guys going the other night. That's one of your seniors that's been around for a while, and if there were any nerves or tension when she came up and hit that ball, I think everybody could kind of exhale.
I'll let you guys have at it. Is that how you felt?
Did that relax you when she hit that ball?
It was definitely some relief to be like, okay, we are going to be okay. We can do this, because whenever one person starts, it just goes down the line.
And that's what happened.
It really helps us.
That wraps us up. But reminder, Lubbock-Cooper hosts Monterey tomorrow. Then Lubbock-Cooper goes to Amarillo on Friday. Monterey will be at home against Paladero. That wraps us up in the Plainsman Fan Zone. We'll be back after the break in the Panther Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.